Hey everybody, Josh from A Cast of the Past here. Just want to let you guys know on November 7th at 3 p.m. we will be hosting a 24-hour long charity stream at twitch.tv/castofthepast. Come join us. You'll be able to see us play a whole bunch of video games as well as having a lot of fun doing live D&D campaigns, doing a live podcast, doing a full movie watch along as well. We're going to have a lot of guests and we're going to be giving away items and lots of video games as well. So stop on by on November 7th at 3 p.m. This will be for a good cause, so we hope to see you guys there. But until next time, we'll see you in the future. Welcome back, everybody, to A Cast of the Past, where best friends get together to talk about old games. Well, actually, not even old games anymore, Tom.
Oh, I'm Tom, Series P, and yeah, we're going to be looking into the future, and we're not alone. Josh, who do we have with us today?
Yeah, I'm Josh, by the way. And today, we brought a special guest with us, Mr. Tio.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, it's great to be here. I'm a longtime listener back from the 3-to-play days. Here to bring some input from a PC gamer.
Fun fact about Mr. Tio. Tio gave the idea for the name Cast of the Past, so
I sure did.
it's like it came in a circle.
Started from him. He is the originator of that name.
Yeah.
Tio solely.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, did you copyright it yet?
Pretty much.
Did you copyright
That's
it?
all up to you guys.
Okay.
Well,
All
we
right.
appreciate that.
So,
right.
Also, just fun fact about Tio, he, like us, has braved the wilds of working in electronic retail. So
Yeah.
we all have that special bond.
we've all grown up in the same building at one point in time.
Yes. I ran away from home a few years ago, though.
Yeah. But why are we all here today? You might be wondering. And today we will be talking about the PlayStation 5 versus the Xbox Series X and Series S. We're going to be breaking it down into 3 categories. We're going to be breaking it down to specs, features, and games. Now, the reason that we decided to bring 3 people onto this, because, Tom, you consider yourself pretty much an Xbox guy, right?
I think I'm going to be firmly carrying that mantle into the next generation, yes.
Okay. I'm usually a PlayStation and Xbox guy. I'm all over the place. I flip-flop back and forth. But Tio's a different breed. He's one of those PC gamers.
I've been a lifelong PC gamer and still am. All the consoles I've owned, though, save for my Super Famicom back in the day, have been PlayStation. So PS1, PS2, and now a PS4. So it's an exciting time because I have to pick.
So Tio's pretty much here because he is torn between these 2 consoles.
Well, I think for the first time in quite a while, this is a generation that does have a big question in front of gamers. You know, what are you going to invest in? Because they're big investments, no matter what you go with. And we're going to break down the nitty-gritty of each console today and kind of come to our own conclusions. Maybe some minds will be changed in the course of this podcast, maybe not, but we think for us and for you, we need to know everything we can about these consoles before we travel into future purchasing.
So let's start with specs.
The Xbox is going to launch, of course, with the flagship, the Series X. This is going to be a device with UHD media playback, so your 4K film discs, your movie films, playable from day one. It's going to be capable of up to 8K resolution, but that is based on whether or not you have other pieces of media that can harness that. Most importantly, obviously, your TV. Also, 120 frames per second with gameplay. And again, this comes down to the other home entertainment technology you may have. The console is going to come packed with a HDMI 2.1 cable in box, which is what's necessary to connect your console to a 4K capable TV or higher to get those visual enhancements out of it. The peak performance of the console is maxed out at 12.15 teraflops. Now, Tio, Josh, do you know what a teraflop is?
I just know it's really fast.
Sure.
Yeah, so teraflops basically means how many operations the GPU can do per second. So 12 is a lot of operations. So
Gotcha.
Let's just put it that way.
Is there any graphics card on PC that comes close to this?
Of course. Yes, absolutely. A lot of the new gen ones, the next gen cards, which a lot of them you can't even pre-order yet anyway, or you can't order them. the 20 series from NVIDIA can hit that, but it's really not. A lot of people get stuck on the whole teraflop business. It's all about optimization. So once Tom gets into the PS5 specs, I think we should go a little more in depth with that. But optimization is king when it comes to GPU performance.
Okay.
Gotcha. All right, so just to keep things moving along, in addition to all of that under the hood magic I just mentioned, it has internal solid state drive, and the internal storage can be expanded with proprietary SSD cards. Now, what's interesting and kind of annoying about these is that as of right now, they're only going to be selling them in 1 terabyte formats, which some of which will not be usable just because of certain operating system space needed and things like that. And they're going to be quite pricey. The other kind of thing is like, so with an Xbox, you can expand storage with just a traditional external hard drive disk. Xbox Series X games, the brand spanking new ones, require SSD compatible storage space. So if you fill your hard drive up really quick and you want to play, say, Halo Infinite when it comes out, Halo Infinite needs solid state space, not just regular hard drive space. So that's something to note about the Xbox before we get down to the comparisons. Of course, there is the Series S alternative, smaller form factor console, no disk drive. It has a base resolution of 1440p, but Microsoft claims that resolution can be upscaled to 4K, depending on what title you're playing and other factors. Still able to achieve 120 frames per second, half the hard drive space, downgraded RAM, but again, it's at a smaller form factor and at a lower price. The prices, Series X, $499, Series S, $299. So that's Microsoft's big and little boys for this next generation. Switching over to Sony's family, we have, again, the Sony PS5, the full factor version, $499. UHD media playback, again, resolutions up to 8K, 120 frames per second. Getting to those teraflops, the PS5 only maxes out at 10.28, which is just a little bit under what Xbox is promising. Custom built solid state drive with twice the read speeds of Series X. So that's something that they are really proud of and bragging about, is that their, internal SSD hardware is proprietary to Sony, optimized by Sony, and as of right now, it looks like it's going to be better than Microsoft's.
Yeah, man, did Mark Cerny go in depth when they had that PlayStation? When he was talking about the performance speed of the hard drive inside of the Xbox or inside of the PlayStation 5.
It was part press conference, part ASMR.
He has such a soothing voice. That is the Lord and Savior. He created knack. All right, show that man some respect.
Oh, money, Mark Cerny. So interesting comparison piece about the solid state drive with Sony is that it's also expandable, but they're not going to lock you into proprietary solid state drives for expansion. There is going to be a list of acceptable SSDs that you can buy over the counter at retail, but you're not going to be buying an exclusive Sony one. And then just to round this out, there is of course, a diskless alternative, the PS5 Digital Edition, basically all of the same features except for a disk drive, and that's going to knock you back $399. So those are our 4 consoles from 2 families of the next generation.
So going into this, it's weird. First off, the hard drive space for the PS5 is 825 gigabytes. Isn't that like weird? Like, am I the only one who thinks that's
probably weird? Yeah, it's probably actually a 1 terabyte solid state, but they're marketing the formatted capacity. We still don't know if the Xbox solid state formatted capacity will actually be 1 terabyte or if it will be something like 900 and something. If you ever bought a hard drive, from retail, you'll know it's almost never the advertised capacity because of just how the way storage media works.
Man, that means that the UI for the PlayStation 5 is 175 gigs.
Oh, the operating system. I mean, think about pre-built apps. I don't know if they're going to have anything like Game Room again. That was a hit, but
we'd be jumping into games for this, but there is going to be a pre-installed game on PS5 consoles, but we'll get to that down the line. So that could be part of that.
Actually, a part of our the first episode of Hey Listen, which is available exclusively on twitch.tv/cast in the past on Sunday nights, we go into the PlayStation 5 actually having pre-built apps already inside the console, where it's going to have Netflix, YouTube, and Apple TV Plus and a whole bunch of stuff pre-built into it already. So that might be also taken away from it. So when it comes down to the teraflops, though, Tio, you said about there's a main difference between the 10 teraflops in the PlayStation and the 12 teraflops in the Xbox. So what can you tell us about that?
So the thing that's going to happen is fanboys from either side will argue with each other about the Xbox camp will say, well, we have more teraflops. And then the Sony fans will say, well, our games are better optimized, and so on and so forth. So do not get hung up on the teraflop spec. Optimization is always the most important thing when it comes to game performance and graphic fidelity. Not just with the graphics card, but the processors and the solid states. I'm super excited, by the way. Speaking of that, I'm super excited that both new gen consoles will have solid states. Console gamers, welcome to about a decade ago. I've been enjoying my solid state loading times for a very, very long time. Although I can't wait to see what first party games in specific, how they're going to take advantage of the improved hardware. I think both consoles are going to look beautiful. I think both consoles have reached a point where optimization and specs are definitely comparable to a relatively expensive PC rig nowadays. But yeah, I think both of them are probably going to be quite similar in terms of performance, regardless of what the spec sheet is going to say.
Yeah, I know one big thing that everyone always talks about with the new next gen is ray tracing. Ray tracing is going to be huge. Ray tracing looks fantastic when it's optimized the right way. Now, breaking it down for pricing, though, I'm going, of course, with disc versions of both of these consoles because, let's face it, I love physical media. I know.
I have a huge collection behind me that you can't see off camera. But I have movies, I have games and stuff like that. There's nothing like holding an actual piece of media. So yeah.
I mean, yeah, when the world ends, how am I supposed to watch my collection of stuff if it's all digital? It's like, I'm offline, bro. Just put the movie in, you know?
So now let's compare though the Series S versus the PlayStation 5 discless version. Like, do you think there's it's worth the $100 difference to go to PlayStation 5, or do you think like the $299 for a Series S, which is very similar to an X, minus I think the 8K, really, like, do you think it's worth that extra $100 to go outside?
Don't think so.
Yeah.
No, I think the Series S might even be one of the hottest selling items this holiday season. One, because it's a little more affordable, and two, because a lot of kids nowadays are playing games that aren't even on physical media. Think Fortnite. Mm-hmm. So a lot of parents are going to buy the Series X. I don't think people are going to be too interested in the digital edition of the PS5. I think the main disc-based version of the console is going to be the one that people go for. But the Series S is going to be an interesting one. I want to see how the graphics comparisons will turn out, since it is technically a little downclocked, but I really don't think it'll make much of a difference.
I'm going to agree with Tio for slightly different reasons, but I do agree with what he already said. I think the smaller form factor is going to be appealing to a lot of the kind of casual market, and that's kind of what a lot of my rationale is, and no disrespect in that way, but I think casual gamers who, you know, don't have 4K TVs and aren't too worried about physical media are going to see, hey, that's the next generation Xbox that can actually fit into my TV center, and it's $100 less than the PlayStation technology. I don't even have an 8K capable TV, so I'm just going to buy this at $399. And there's other factors that we'll get into of why I think Xbox will have a certain bit of an advantage, but form factor and most average retail customers' infamiliarity with 4K technology and all that. You know, when they walk into Target, it's not going to be like in a kind of store we work at where a tech will walk you through what you should or shouldn't get based on your home needs. You're just going to go to Target and go, get that out of the case for me.
Yeah.
And they'll likely go with the more
Walmart experience, as we like to call it.
There you go.
So now I'm gonna peel back a little bit more of this here to kind of play devil's advocate though. So Tia, we actually have a coworker that comes into work all the time with his Xbox because he can't, where he lives, download updates or download games on his Xbox due to his internet speed. And he has DSL. He says sometimes it's going to take 8 to 20 some hours to download an update or a game itself. Imagine the people who live out in the country using mobile hotspots for gaming. And now you're trying to use it for a 4K game, for an 8K game, something along those lines. Like a diskless version, like, is not going to work that great. Especially think about some of these updates coming through for Fortnite. They're 1.2 gig updates every couple weeks here.
Yeah, right. Even day zero patches nowadays for new games are insane in size, and anyone without cable or fiber internet, impossible download. We're talking it'll waste your whole weekend. You won't even get to play the game. So yeah, that's true, Josh. You make a really good point. But I don't really think that Microsoft and Sony really care, because the percentage of people that are in that position is negligible compared to people that have a fast enough internet connection to get those patches and updates. So it's going to be a factor in what people buy. Is it going to make a dent in the sales numbers for those consoles? I don't think so.
No, I do think that they're going to sell, because they are going to be the Fortnite machine, the Call of Duty Warzone machine, or whatever. Is it Warzone?
Yeah, it's okay. Warzone. That's the free to play.
Like it's going to be a free to play machine, mostly for a lot of families. So we've talked about the specs of the consoles. Let's talk about the features, right?
Right. I mean, what makes a console special without the standout things that you can only get through that brand,
So coming in hot, and I will say hot right off the press here for Microsoft, is going to be Game Pass. The best deal in gaming, hands down. And they are doing everything in their power to pretty much come out on top and show you that Game Pass is the only thing to have really with Xbox. And that's all you need.
Every time you come into work, and sorry to cut you off there, Tom, but every time I get really excited about Game Pass when you come in and you tell me, hey, Microsoft just announced this for Game Pass. And I'm like, wow, the next day they just announced that. This is going to be available. That's going to be available. Price doesn't change. It's good for PC as well. It just blows my mind how great value Game Pass is. And I love that on the Microsoft side. Go ahead, Tom. Sorry to cut you off.
No, it's fine. But yeah, it's Xbox Netflix. And it's doing something that like Apple Arcade and Stadia have tried to do, but Xbox is doing it better because they have more built-in hot properties and franchises that people commonly want. And, they are able to pull off better partnerships. When the Xbox Series X launches, Game Pass will contain not only a huge chunk of all of Microsoft's first-party partners and titles, it's going to have the future of Bethesda is probably going to be locked to Game Pass. Then we're going to have EA. Is EA Play or EA Access?
EA Play.
EA Play folded in for Xbox Game Pass customers. So future Maddens, future FIFAs, future Star Wars games, anything that's tied to EA coming right to Xbox for $15 a month. That means, like, if you buy 10, let me see here. Let me see how my brain can handle math. If you buy 10 video games a year at full retail price, which for the next generation of games might be around $70, that's $700 in a year on 10 games. If you pay $15 a month, that's gonna be $180.
Yeah.
$180, and you can get 10 times that just on its own, and then a varying schedule of constantly added titles. It's such a better value. And like you said, if you're gonna get these digital editions, it's built in. You don't need, you can go home with hundreds of games on day one.
So don't forget too that not only is it varying games and stuff like that, but if you like one of those games that's getting ready to be taken off, you actually get a $20 discount on that game too.
That's cool. I didn't know that, but that's really cool.
Xbox Live is built into it also.
Yep.
However, on the opposite scale, you talk about all these Xbox games. All these Xbox games are included, right? With the launch of the PlayStation 5, you are going to get 20 to 30 of the hottest PlayStation 4 games readily available at launch. And if anybody knows anything about PlayStation games, the reason that you own a PlayStation console is because of their first-party titles. You're going to get Last of Us. You're going to get the Uncharted. You're going to get Until Dawn. You're going to get Bloodborne. You're going to get God of War. You're going to get like every big PlayStation title included with PlayStation Plus. And that's a great deal. However, my problem with that is people who have PlayStation Plus probably already played all these games. And it's a great deal. Don't get me wrong. If you are a first time, for instance, Tom, I'm surprised you aren't going with a PlayStation 5 at launch, because get PlayStation Plus and you immediately get all the games that you've missed for the past 7 years in the palm of your hands.
Well, that's slightly true. I don't get all of them. So I want to have a larger conversation about backwards compatibility on both consoles, but go finish up the PS Plus conversation, because I want to make sure we kind of cover everything fairly.
Yeah, so with PlayStation Plus, you're going to get the 20 plus games that they announced, all the first party games that come included with it as well, your online gameplay, plus the 2 free games a month, very similar to the way that Xbox releases 4 free games a month. Now, the thing is, PlayStation usually gives you better free games. We can all agree on that one.
Absolutely.
And all of your stuff that you've previously had through PlayStation Plus games, you are going to be able to download in backwards capability. So it's a little bit cheaper. You're getting games that are, are critically acclaimed games. So I think Game Pass is the better of the deals. However, like when we talk about quality of what you're getting, I think there's more quality in the PlayStation Plus. It's honestly like comparing Netflix to HBO Now.
So what do you think is which?
I think Game Pass is Netflix, where it's just a whole bunch of stuff. And you can sit there browsing through Game Pass nonstop and seeing like, oh, I can play this game. I can play this game. Oh, I can play this game. But then you go over to HBO and it's like, oh, I want to play this game. Like, this is the game I'm putting on. And there is a little bit of a quality difference when it comes to an Xbox first-party game compared to a PlayStation first-party game. Now, don't get me wrong. Xbox is building up a catalog, and they are building up an army right now of just buying every developer that they possibly can get their hands on. But, I mean, what do you guys think about these two? Like, comparing them? Like, do you see a pro or con? Do you see a con with Game Pass?
Oh my God, Game Pass is such a good deal. Here's I've already said how much I like Game Pass, but with PlayStation's offering, I already have a PlayStation 4, and one of you mentioned that a little bit. The perks of going to PS5 for me, I can't really take advantage of that because all the games that they're offering with the console at launch. I mean, who hasn't played them before that has a PlayStation, right? So regardless of the console I pick, be it a PlayStation or an Xbox, Game Pass will be in my future, I think, just on account of the fact that I can play it on my PC, because that is my preferred way of playing. Bethesda being on Game Pass, insane. EA Play, insane deal. $15 a month is such good value for those games, and the more I read about PlayStation's offering, I can't get too excited for it.
Tom, pros and cons? Yeah.
Interesting. So I think a bigger conversation, if we can transition into it, but it'll play into this. So let's talk backwards compatibility in general. So in addition to that catalog of iconic titles that are coming to PS Plus subscribers, Sony is quoted as saying that more than 99% of the PS4 library will be playable at launch. So, as far as I am left to interpret, that means discs. Like, you can pop up to 99% of the PS4 library discs into your PS5 at launch and play them. However, they had to emphasize that this is not going to be completely obstacle-free. There are all kinds of questions about how cross-saves will work. There's no guarantee that older titles are going to be optimized for the PS5. They are probably just going to be straight emulated at what they were. So there's a lot of questions of like, you're probably going to get them, but you're going to get them with some asterisks, And then we move over to Xbox, and they're just promising straight, pure, uncut, backwards compatibility. And not just with games, with accessories. And I think that's pretty big. So, like, with the Series X, Xbox One, Xbox 360, original Xbox discs, they are promising that the entire catalog is going to, from 3 generations, are going to be available. And the only big question marks seem to be Kinect games, because at this point, Microsoft seems like it has completely dropped Kinect, and I don't think there's any ports or whatever for the Kinect on the Series X. And accessories, all your controllers, everything that can plug into USB is going to be compatible on the Series X and the Series S. So if you have old controllers, you can still have multiplayer fun. PS5, there's the only accessories, the only hardware that they're promising backwards compatibility with at this point is Guitar Hero and Rock Band controllers. Everything else, we're getting brand new proprietary hardware headlined by the DualSense controller. So when we're talking about what wealth of options are available, you know, like on top of Game Pass, Xbox is promising 3 generations worth of compatibility and no extra sunken costs for hardware accessories. PlayStation 5, I get you're saying it is in most cases a quality versus quantity argument, but you know, the PlayStation 5, I can play 1 generation backwards, and that will come with maybe some problems. I can't play any classic PS3 titles. I'll probably have to hold out and buy remasters, you know, PS2, PS1, etc., etc. And then if I want to play a 2-player game locally, I got to buy another DualSense. Whereas, you know, Xbox, I'm already invested in the Xbox family of titles and hardware enough that if I brought home a Series X just by itself, I would have months of entertainment at my disposal, you know, before we even get into the new stuff.
Tio, anything to add?
Not really.
No.
He kind of did everything. He kind of said everything I was thinking as well.
All right. Well, then let me go at this, Tom.
Absolutely. Go for it.
Okay, correct my fingers. Okay, never mind. Don't you already have an Xbox Series X then?
Well,
your Xbox
quote, unquote,
One plays 360 games. Your Xbox One plays Xbox One games. Your Xbox One plays original Xbox games. Why pay $500 to have the same exact experience that you're having right now if you don't have a 4K TV, if you don't have an 8K TV?
It's a good point. It's an absolutely good point. It's why I'm just going to say up front before we even get to the end of this episode, I'm not buying these on day one. Mostly because I don't expect I'll find one in stores. I don't expect I'm going to have that much money to blow at the time. I am personally waiting until I can save enough money to maybe invest in a full next-gen entertainment option, you know, TV, console-wise and everything. But no, it's a very good point.
Yeah, and that's the hardest part with me right now. Like, I have a PlayStation 5 pre-ordered. I don't have a Series X pre-ordered. And like, I was thinking about it, and I'm like, do I just get the digital version of the Xbox? Like, do I get the Series S? But like, I look at my thing and like, no, there's going to be games coming out that are going to be exclusive to the Series X. Because right now, a lot of games coming out are saying that it's compatible with both. Okay,
right,
great. That means I'm going to be set for the future. So I got to go disc version of it. But well, like,
you know, Josh, in that same, right. I feel like you can spin that question very equally over to, you know, the PS5. Why should I buy a PS5 where if I just buy a PS4, I'm going to get myself knee deep in all these Sony classics at a cheaper price, and I don't have to sweat TV compatibility as much, you know, not even a PS4 Pro. I'll just go buy a PS4 Slim and catch up on the classics I missed. What, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think that argument can be just as easily flipped around.
But as of right now, there's no games that are going to be Xbox Series X exclusive.
Oh, there's a couple. We'll get to it, but there's a couple.
Okay, because the PlayStation itself is going to have PlayStation 5 exclusive games, such as, well, we'll get into it when we talk about games. So we talked about the backwards compatibility. So PlayStation 4 games and PlayStation VR is also going to be backwards compatible too. So that's really nice, where you lose Kinect on the Xbox side, but you gain PlayStation VR on the PlayStation side. Really, when it comes down to it, though, like that's really it when it comes to those features. Like, I do like that the fact that you can use all of your your previous Xbox accessories on it. And we talked about the Guitar Hero controllers, and I think that's awesome because they did announce like 2 days ago that Rock Band 4 is going to be backwards compatible with both consoles, that you're going to be able to use all of your instruments on the new console. Which PlayStation, it's easy because it's all just Bluetooth. Xbox, you have to buy a $120 adapter in order to play all of your instruments on it. But okay, whatever. Take it or leave it. But coming out of features, we're going to head into the thing that people care about most, the reason that we are getting consoles, and that's video games. Them Nintendo tapes. And really, what do we got at launch lineup for the Xbox?
Well, there are several titles that are going to pop up on both of these at launch from third parties. From Ubisoft, we're getting Assassin's Creed Valhalla and Watch Dogs. Both are going to get the new Call of Duty. Both are going to get NBA 2K21. So there's going to be some shared, mingling.
Is there going to be a Madden game?
It's hard to say. You never know with that franchise.
Madden, it's really hard to see Madden on next gen. I can't. I don't know what I would do if I see it.
I don't know, man. But I found 3 Xbox exclusive launch titles, 2 of which are timed, but we have The Falconer, which is marketed as an open world aerial combat game. Think in the Panzer Dragoon legacy of, you're a warrior on back of a creature. In this case, it's giant falcons, and you're engaging in combat with mighty...
How to Train a Falcon?
There you go, How to Train a Falcon. That's a launch day title, and that's going to be on Xbox Series X and S. Then we have Tetris Effect Connected, which is a next-gen kind of upgrade to the critically acclaimed Tetris Effect. That's a timed Xbox exclusive. And then we have Enlisted, which is a first-person, massively multiplayer online World War II game. And that's all I really know about it. And that it's a squad-based shooter, I should also mention. So I'm guessing maybe that's in the Rainbow Six kind of mold. And that is going to also be a timed Xbox launch exclusive. What do you think about all of that?
Well, let me tell you, Tetris Effect is amazing. I'm really excited to play it. Honestly, I'm super excited to play that, and especially on like if I ever go 8K. Oh my god, my brain is gonna melt. Tio, does any of those games sound remotely pleasing to you?
You just sold me. I'm going to pre-order my Xbox Series X right now.
Just hop right on
those 3 games are the only reason to get any console nowadays.
Excuse me, Xbox.com. I would like to pre-order. Shooter?
Amazing. They sound interesting. They sound interesting enough. But again, Sony, very well known for their exclusives. So I think I'm a little more excited on that end.
Tio, listen, you're getting a World War II shooter not in the year 2002, okay? Come on.
I know. It's such a surprise. And Tetris? Oh my God. That's incredible.
It's never been released since the Game Boy.
Look, I know, Tio, before we recorded, you said you don't want to brag, Josh. I just have to tell you, Tio is the #1 ranked enlisted player in the world. Okay, so he's very excited that he'll be able to go next gen.
I was trying to be humble, but you got me.
But yes, even I cannot deny that the big 4 that are going to be out on day 1 for the PS5 are mind-blowing. Do you want me to reveal these delicacies to you both?
Hit me with the sweetness, Tom. Hit me with the sweetness.
Right. The 4 major titles, and one of them kind of has an extra to it. So we're going to have Sackboy, A Big Adventure, which is Sackboy, the lovable mascot from Little Big Planet, diving into a big adventure. We're going to have Demon Souls, the remake of the beloved installment in the... well, Josh, do it justice. Tell about Demon Souls real quick.
Demon Souls is pretty much the first entry of the Soulsborne series. It came out on the PlayStation 3, and it was not that great, but everyone absolutely loved it. And people were clamoring for a remake of it. And Blue Point, they answered the call, and man, every time I see that trailer to it or the gameplay, man, I get chills when I see it because it is beautiful.
Nice.
So, yeah,
Tio,
what's
are you a
your
fan?
yeah? What's
Are
your
you a fan of the Soulsborne series at all?
I haven't played, but I have watched a lot of it. By the way, I'm super excited for more Little Big Planet. That was
Nice.
the in my opinion, one of the only high points of the PlayStation 3 era back in that generation. But I'm really excited for both of them, actually.
I think Sackboy Adventures looks so much like Super Mario 3D World. Yeah, like that 3D Mario like level based thing. It reminded me a lot of that, and those are, I think, the good 3D Mario games.
Pre-installed on the PS5 hardware is going to be Astro's Playroom, and Astro seems to kind of be, in my opinion, becoming a new little lovable Sony mascot alongside Sackboy. For those unfamiliar, he's this little almost robotic spaceman, and he starred in the PSVR kind of demonstration title where you guided him through 3D worlds, a la, as Josh said, the Super Mario 3D World mold. I felt it was anyway. And he's just this cute little guy, and now he's going to get a game that I assume is to show off the PS5's hardware power.
Yeah, it's going to be the tech demo.
Right. And then finally, we are getting Spider-Man Miles Morales, a sequel to the Marvel Spider-Man game that hit the PS4 in 2018. And most interestingly, so if you just want Spider-Man Miles Morales, you're only going to have to pay $50. It's a little bit lower priced, which makes me think it's not going to be that long of a game. I have my sneaking suspicions.
Yeah.
But if you pay $70 for the deluxe edition, you're going to get Miles Morales and Spider-Man Remastered. So you're going to get two games for the price of one retail game if you were to pick that version up. So we technically have like 4.5 major exclusive launch titles for the PS5 on day one.
And it's, that the remaster of the original Spider-Man game, improved load times, added content to the game itself. Like, for $20, it's worth, just spend the money to get it. We know Miles Morales is going to be pretty much a 1.5 version of the game. Like, they started working on that immediately after the launch of the first Spider-Man game. Like, it's going to be the Uncharted Lost Legacies of this series until Spider-Man 2 comes out.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
Marvel Spider-Man was incredible. I wasted a lot of time playing that game, and I'm very excited for Miles Morales.
Josh, you talked about your surprise and why I hadn't made the switch. I can't lie. Spider-Man was a title that made me jealous. I didn't have a PlayStation, and it looks like an incredibly polished game. So the fact that I could get two complete Spidey adventures with two great versions of Spider-Man, in one package, that is something that has me having a little bit of like, if only I had thousands of dollars to spend on two high-end pieces of hardware. If only.
Right. So do we want to talk about upcoming games, though? Like, compare and contrast these games that we have, like, because not only, like, this is just the launch, right?
Sure.
Like, we have the whole next year of games pretty much planned out for each of these consoles. Xbox, we know that we got Halo coming, right? We got Senua 2, Hellblade 2.
Yep.
We got Medium movie, the game that looks good, the one with the dual perspectives, two planes of gameplay on there.
Of course, announced recently, we have Rare's next upcoming title, Everwild. We've got a relaunch of the Fable franchise on the docket. So Xbox is pumping blood and life back into a lot of their IPs and studios that they own. Is Psychonauts 2 going to be Xbox exclusive? Because Microsoft owns Double Fine. Am I correct? I'm correct.
Yeah, I believe they are going to. And the other thing is there's that game by Obsidian, the one that seems very similar-ish to the Elder Scrolls games. But then on the other side, you got the PlayStation 5, right? And PlayStation 5 upcoming games, God of War 2, Horizon 2, probably a new Uncharted is going to be coming in there. Right.
Ratchet and Clank.
Ratchet and Clank. Now, they said that that's going to be around the release window. So we might get that by the end of the year. I don't really know what they consider release window to be. If the console is ridiculously hard to get in November of next year, is that still considered release window?
Sure.
Like, so there's just so much good coming to both of these. And like, it really, I feel like this is coming down to the PlayStation 5 versus Game Pass. Because every Xbox game that's coming out is going to be available on Game Pass day one. Like, I don't know, man. Like,
which means I just need this to play most of those titles.
Because included with Game Pass is going to be Project xCloud.
Yes, I'm running the beta on my phone right now through my measly little T-Mobile Unlimited plan. I get incredible gameplay with little to no lag, great load times. Just it works and it's good and I like it, man. Just sync your controller up to it and you're good to go. So yeah, you're making a point that like Microsoft has almost been so consumer friendly that they probably don't even need you to buy a console.
What? Yeah. What about
Theo, what do you think about that?
So, Tom, you are 100% on the nose, and I've been thinking about it for the last couple of weeks. The way I think Microsoft wants to do it is they're looking at their hardware and console business, not so much as making a product, but more making a service. Which I think it might come back to bite them, because me as a PC player, why should I buy an Xbox when I can just get Game Pass and get all of those great games on launch day on my computer? Now, PlayStation doesn't really have something like that. Well, there's PlayStation Now, I guess. But yeah, exactly.
I wasn't sure that even still existed, but okay,
it does.
yeah.
It does.
It does kind of, yeah. It's not great, but anyway, xCloud will be exciting. But again, I think there isn't a reason to necessarily buy an Xbox if you already play on PC. All those exclusives, Halo will be the big one. Already will be out on platforms like Steam. So I have to ask you again. I know Josh already asked you, why the Xbox?
The reason I basically am invested in Xbox up to this point is that it was just a thing of convenience with friends and family who owned it. My brother went Xbox, a couple of my friends with Xbox. I was like, I'm going to get it to play with said friends. And, at this point, it's a lot of what I've bought into generationally that make me say this seems like a better value, that I have all these things I can keep using if I just get a Series X. So you're absolutely right. I myself have started to get into PC gaming a little bit more nowadays myself too. So again, that's just an equally fair point. I have a machine. Why do I even need an Xbox if I have something that can, if not outperform it, be modded to outperform it through, upkeep? It's a good point. So for me, it seems hypocritical. I don't know, but I think I'm sticking to the familiar for right now in terms of personal FOMO with people I care about. That's just me.
I completely understand, and I get it. I mean, one thing that still draws me to it, like I said, you're able to use your old peripherals on it, like your old controllers and stuff, right? I talked about in our episode, the Xbox One controller is one of my favorite controllers of all time. Like, and the fact that I'll still be able to use it, great. Like, I don't need, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And that's pretty much Microsoft's doing right now. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Like, everything's going to be backwards compatible. Everything's going to be able to be used on it. Great.
Speaking of controllers, Tom, as an Xbox fan, how do you feel about the new controller coming for the Xbox?
I mean, from all I've seen of it demonstrated, the big appeal, I guess, is the improved D-pad. Otherwise, there's just a share button now, like a dedicated social share button, it's fine. That's cool. So great, But if my old one's adjusted, my old one's still going to work. I'm totally cool with that. Do you think that it's like? Do you think it's not enough of a change? Do you not like it?
I am not too big on the fact that, well, for one, it's 2020. And we're in the new gen of consoles, and you still have double A's in your controller. Interesting.
Yeah.
But The D-pad does look great, and the Xbox Elite controller was fantastic, but DualSense and the HD Rumble-like features they're adding in for the PlayStation controller, that seems genuinely interesting, and I think the first-party developers are going to take advantage of that, and it will make your experience playing the game on PlayStation. It'll be just that one extra level of immersion that you're not going to be able to get out of the Xbox experience. I was kind of disappointed when I saw the Series S and Series X controllers. I think they should have spent a little more time on refreshing those controllers a little more.
Tio, I totally see where you're coming from. Microsoft, as Josh said, it ain't broke, don't fix it. But in not fixing it, maybe they're not innovating enough. And, I agree, it is ridiculous that you can't just invest in ion batteries for rechargeability. But something I do also have to give credit to the DualSense to is it's going to have a built-in microphone. So it's very consumer friendly. Sony is basically saying, like, don't invest extra money in expensive headgear or whatever, just use the microphone built into your controller. Now, Sony has also been questioned about how much they may or may not be spying on us through said controllers, and they've been like, no, we're not. We promise we're not. But, it's still a pretty revolutionary feature in terms of user convenience that I cannot deny.
So one thing I've talked about and was very vocal about is I don't like that there's a microphone in the controller, and it's not because of the government's listening to me, Sony's listening to me. It's the toxic online community. You're going to think about a kid or somebody playing a game and someone's on the other end, get on the microphone. I know you have one. But that's the thing. Like, it's going to promote more online bullying, honestly, in the chats.
Like, there's no more excuse. There's no more runaway. You're
right
on the PS5. I know you can do this.
Yeah. Think about how many negative things could come from the microphone being in there. Now, at the same time, if Sony was apparently listening, they could technically find out who it is, where it came from, and ban that player for toxic behavior. So I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of the microphone because it could bring out the worst in people more than people are already, as terrible as they are. But I don't know. And the haptic thing, is it going to just be another gimmick that we have that we don't need? Do you remember the light bar, how it was going to help improve certain gameplays in the PlayStation 4 and all it did was destroy your battery in the controller? Do you remember at certain games you could play and you could hear the microphone talk to you through the controller? I don't care. I don't need that. Hold on a second. Let me look at the top of my controller to make sure if my character is going to be dead or not.
The light bar is now around the touchpad,
right? So
you can actually see it when you're holding the controller instead of having to flip it facing towards yourself.
Yeah.
So
that's good. That's good. Honestly,
it's very gimmicky, and maybe Xbox is right in this where you don't need gimmicks built into your controller to enjoy gaming.
But when it gets stale.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Well, just because you have a light bar on your PC keyboard, all of your RGBs.
My RGBs.
My Xbox controller doesn't need...
This is how I prove I'm a real gamer, okay? You don't get to talk
my
down to me.
computer go faster.
But maybe Xbox is saying maybe we don't need RGBs to make our gameplay better. Now, I heard some really awesome things, though. I think they were testing it out with Call of Duty. If your gun jams in the game, your trigger locks up and you can't actually play. It adds more submersion to your gameplay. And I think it's the way that you, in Spider-Man, if you hold the trigger certain ways or how slow you move it is how the web will shoot out of the web slingers and stuff. But
see, that's cool.
Go ahead, Tom.
But how long? But how long is that going to be?
Right. There is a worry that the first round of games, the developers were probably encouraged to get the most out of this. And you wonder, are people just going to give up on it as it goes on? Okay, the pressure's off to actually utilize this. But, there have been games in history that have used analog triggers, what the DualSense is promising. The last big console I remember really, in my experience, getting mileage out of that was the GameCube. They did some incredible things with the analog triggers and the level of pressure and before you go full click. And the DualSense, from everything I've been reading about, it seems like it's going to bring you back to that level of just, careful, precise immersion. So I think that's cool, for what it is.
It'll all be up to the developers, though. So here's where optimization comes back into play again. So if you remember how excited people were about the touchpad on the DualShock 4, can you name 3 games, or even just one game, that actually utilized that touchpad properly?
Correct.
Every game I have played pretty much uses that touchpad as an oversized map or status screen button.
Correct.
So
it turned into the start button again.
pretty much, right. So it'll be up to the developers to make something creative out of the haptic feedback, out of the whole DualSense technology, the light bar, the touch pad, all of that stuff. So I have faith in both on the Xbox side and the Sony side that first-party developers, especially with what both companies buying up developers left and right, I have faith that all those first-party devs are gonna really try to make their console stand out by utilizing those built-in features into their hardware. But if history repeats itself, I don't know. Maybe we won't see too many exciting things come out of that DualSense technology.
Problem I think we're going to have going into this generation of consoles is I think we are experiencing the PlayStation 3 cockiness of Sony again. We got this. We are the best. Nobody can touch us, blah, 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 as the Xbox 360 is already 3 miles ahead of them in the race. It's going to be weird because Sony's running off of this high that they had of the PlayStation 4 success. And I feel like they might trip. And I don't want it to happen. I really don't. Like, I think Xbox is building a very strong army in the background that, Xbox is building a clone army pretty much. And the Geonosians have no idea what they're going to experience. Do you guys have any closing statements? Anything else you want to add? Anything we didn't hit in your notes?
I mean, talking to Tio, honestly, I've kind of come to this realization at this point that consoles are just, at this point in history, it's there if you can't afford a PC, or if, as a hobbyist, gaming for you just stops at a turnkey function. Like, I want to play video games, but I'm not savvy enough or interested in building a PC. So, there is a degree in this entire argument of, if you are a gamer who's obsessed with power, go for a PC that you can customize and maintain. When it comes down to these two titans that we're talking about, I guess if you want to be it's kind of like I don't know, Sony. It's like if you want to be in the know with gaming culture, if you want to be the most up to speed on the critically acclaimed stuff that everyone's going to be talking about, if you want to go to a con and recognize every cosplayer or see every little bit of merch, it's like, I got to be in that Sony fan because they're going to attract the most conversations. But Xbox is doing a lot, in my opinion, to appeal to wider consumers and longtime investors. So it's a little bit, it's almost like team warfare, like we haven't seen in a couple generations again. And I just hope that whatever one anyone chooses, you get what you need out of it. I hope that both of these consoles are going to serve their fan base and wider gamer culture in general in positive ways. I don't think anyone should have to be disadvantaged by buying one of these. I hope, So that's all I want to throw out, is just some hopeful positivity. Tio, how about you?
I am very excited to see what both companies, Microsoft and Sony, will do to capture those undecided potential buyers. I think last generation, well, I guess right now it's the current generation, the PS4 and the Xbox One, I think that was a little bit of a boring console war because Sony undoubtedly destroyed Microsoft in more ways than one. I think we're going to be back to the PS3 versus 360 days when that was fresh and there was rabid console fans on both sides. There is no wrong answer in this new gen. Xbox has a lot of pros, from the design to the incredible value and service that Microsoft is creating for their products. And then on the Sony side, the amazing exclusives and great features that they'll have. There is no wrong answer. For me, though, it will probably be nothing yet and Game Pass for now.
So, Tom, you talked about PC, and it's the better of the ways to go. And
Is this where you fire me from the show?
no, no. So, Tio, how different are these consoles from PC gaming right now, though?
So, over time, let me start with this. Back during the PS3 and Xbox 360 era, consoles couldn't really touch PC in terms of performance and customization, and even down to the pricings of the games. Couldn't touch it. But now with the PS4 and Xbox One, one of the main things that PC gamers had against console gaming was the high cost. Now I can go in the PlayStation Store and I see incredible sales. Same sales that you would see on Steam, so that's not a discussion anymore. Graphics were the biggest one. I think that PS4 and Xbox One are not quite up there with PC, but they're close enough. And next gen, I think PS5 and the Series X will be really, really good. I think the games will be beautiful. And from the perspective of a PC elitist, I can't use the graphics are better argument against consoles anymore. So in terms of how they'll compare, they'll be very close.
Yeah, like that's my problem with it. Like they're so close, but like in order to get that same experience or to get a better experience, now you have to spend $700-800 on a graphics card, right? Like to get a 3080 or 3070 or whatnot. And it's like, well, why wouldn't I just save $200, $300 to just get a console, sit on my couch and relax and play? Like it makes sense on that aspect. And like you don't need to worry about drivers. You don't need to worry about Windows updates. You don't need to worry about antivirus on your computer. You don't need to worry. You're going to miss out on TurboTax. But I mean, sooner or later, all PC games have been coming to console, right? And some of them go here first. Some of them go there first. Some of them do the opposite, and they go from console to PC. We're seeing that with a lot of PlayStation 4 games coming to PC, and there's rumor that a lot of PlayStation 5 games will be coming to PC. PC might be the best way to go for the people who aren't afraid to spend money and want the ultimate version of playing either one of these games. If you want a more relaxed version, a more casual experience, go with the console. Coming from me, I am a firm believer that graphics don't make the game. Celeste and Shovel Knight are two of my favorite games of all time. I think those games are fine on any platform that you play it on. It's not going to really hurt either way you go.
No, graphics don't matter much. And the thing with Xbox, PC, PS5, and all of that, I think I'm afraid that this generation of consoles will probably be, this new upcoming generation of consoles will probably be the last generation where your preference in console will really matter because, like you said, console games are coming to PC. PC games are coming to consoles. Companies are moving towards games as a service, subscription-based models where you can play anywhere. So, again, I don't think there's a wrong decision at all, which is why I'll probably hold off a little bit and take advantage of being able to play those console games on my computer. So, especially with cross-platform, a lot of developers are pushing that really hard. And like Tom said earlier in the podcast, he likes Xbox because he likes to play with friends and family that are in the ecosystem. That might not matter in the next few years as more and more games are starting to embrace cross-platform. So no wrong answer. I don't think so.
Well, Tio, I appreciate you hopping on and joining us on the episode here. Do you have anything you want to pimp out or any social media stuff that you are a part of?
I am on Twitter, TDR_CSGO. I don't go on there often, but I will lurk around. Apart from that, I have a YouTube channel that I post some random short gaming clips. It's youtube.com/TDRFTW, TDR for the win. That's about it, though.
And
we'll plug those. Look below in the descriptions. We'll get links for all Tio's content in here.
All right. And then the last thing I have to say, I can't believe neither one of you talked about with the controller that you didn't talk about how many ice cubes you can feel inside your controller. And that proves once again that the Switch is king. Nintendo, the overlords, Mario, our god. That's fine. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been a Cast of the Past. Make sure to follow us on all of our podcast streaming services. Make sure to follow us on twitch.tv/Cast of the Past, youtube.com/Cast of the Past, and facebook.com/Cast of the Past. But until next time, this has been Josh.
And Tom.
And we'll see you in the future.
And Tio.
Leave it just like that.
Subscribe to A Cast of the Past on iTunes, Stitcher, and Google Play. And stay up to date with The Cast of the Past by making sure you follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. There you can be the first to know when new episodes drop, as well as joining in on discussions on all things gaming. And until next time, we'll see you in the future.